Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
Happy Mother's Day from Three Black Moms. We are here with our mother, who we are celebrating Mother's Day with, and she is 99 today. Yay. Hey, Mama. We have our mother. Yeah. So we'd like to share some of the memorable times we've had with our children, because all three of us are moms, and of course, our mother is a mom. So I'm thinking about my oldest daughter, Lavinia, who now lives in China. And one of my favorite memories is really kind of a funny one. She was really little, and we were watching a movie, Pinocchio. And of all the funny things in Pinocchio that happened, she remembered the scene where the little boy turned into a donkey. And she went around repeating this line, "What do you think I am? A jackass?" And we just laughed and laughed that she remembered that one line. Cheryl?
Well, of course you would remember that one line. Those are the kinds of things that you remember for grandma, too. The most embarrassing thing. I think my favorite memory of Sarah was when she was around 2 years old. And she was just starting to talk really good. And I remember I was going upstairs. She was in the basement, and I was going upstairs to get her something to eat. And I said, "What do you want?" And she said, "I want a bagel." And I kept looking at her, and she said, "A bagel, a bagel." And I said, "A bagel?" And she said, "Yes. And I want cheese on it." She wanted a bagel with cream cheese. But it was so funny because she looked at me like, "What are you, an idiot?" And like, I've been saying this the whole time. And it just was so much fun. You know what? She was always fun. But that was like one of my favorite memories was when she was just getting into her own personality. Naima, what was your favorite memory? Or one of yours?
Well, it was always so interesting with Zakia growing up because she had such an expressive face. And it's like, she didn't have to say anything. She just gave you this face and you knew how she felt. But I guess one of my favorite memories was when me and her father, my husband Sultan, we all went out to dinner. And she had this favorite doll that she brought with us. And you know how your doll is your alter ego, right? So we sit at the table. And she's got her doll. And now she was just a toddler, now maybe 2. So, you have to have the child booster seats. And so, I told the waitress, "Oh, can you bring us a booster seat from my daughter?" And so the waitress brought the seat. And then Zakia goes, "We need a seat for my friend," her doll. And so, of course, the waitress humoring her. She said, "Okay." And, so Tom was going, "No, Zakia, she doesn't need a seat." And, Zakia gave him that look like, "Get a seat for my friend." So, he gave her the waitress brought the seat, and we set the doll in the seat. And so we started ordering, and and so everybody ordered something, and and Zakia goes, "We have to get some food from my friend." And so Tom said, "I don't care what she said. I ain't paying for no food for that doll."
Well, I also had a set of twins, and I have to say that for all the twin books that I've read, everything was just the same. Even though John and Lorelai were boy-girl twins, they would switch personalities. Just when I thought that I knew that child, they would switch personalities and act the opposite of each other. So that was pretty amusing. And I have to say, I was so exhausted when they were both 2 and 3 years old. There's no rest for the wicked. There's no sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always funny when your child starts showing their imagination, because you know, you don't want to discourage that. And you know, I used to have fun playing with, you know, Zakiya and her toys and her dolls and everything. And but you know, she was very imaginative, just like I was. I remember I used to.
You had a whole town.
I had a whole town.
You had a whole Johnson town. And,
yeah, I had personalities,
and people, and I just remember that you had this whole thing. I can remember all of the different characters, Jeremiah
yes.
and Uncle Harvey, and all these different characters. So yes, you were quite the
creative person.
Yeah, creative person as a child.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember when Sarah kind of came into her own. And the thing is, when you have one child, they get to try everything. And Sean and I quickly became the people that we used to make fun of, where your kid is in everything. She did dance. She did baton twirling. She did gymnastics. I think every time she wanted to try something, she did piano and voice. And I think it was funny, but I just wanted her to get the opportunity to try everything, because there were a lot of things like that when we were kids. They weren't available to us. Like, there was nobody who was doing gymnastics. There was only one dance school here in the neighborhood. So we didn't get a chance to do all those things. So I wanted all of those things for her, but it's helped shape her personality and being able to jump in and perform and just try different things. So it's those kind of things I remember that I'm glad I did. Even like I said, I became the person I used to make fun of with the child
and everything.
That had the child and everything. had the noisiest toys. The most toys. It was just ridiculous, you know. But if I had to do all over again, I would probably be even worse.
Yeah, I used to, because you know, I wanted Zakiya to have all kinds of experiences. I'm glad that when we came to visit you for that almost a summer, and she had almost a month, I guess it was, when you had her in dance class and stuff like that. And then later on in her grammar school, at first they didn't have a sports program, so I'm like, we know children have to be in sports, so we started a double dutch team, and I was coaching that. And then one of the other mothers, you know, used to coach cheerleading, so we did that. We had a cheerleading team, and then they had a basketball team. And I was not a basketball player, but I think the basketball coach, his wife had a baby, and he had to take off, and so I filled in and was coaching basketball, which was kind of funny because I knew nothing. So I'm going online trying to find plays and printing them out and giving them to the team, and like, what? But, you know, we did play some games, and I think Zakiya scored in one of the games, and we were all happy. It didn't matter if we lost. He was like, I scored. Hey, that's all. That's good enough. You know, and then she started getting into, soccer, I guess, watching that movie, Bend It Like Beckham.
Oh, that's a good
one. Yeah.
She fell in love with soccer.
That's
and
very
so in high school, so we got all these soccer trophies all over the house. So she was playing soccer and scored, and, you know, couple of games, and so that was, you know, it was always fun. So the thing about it, and then of course, my sport, of course, was track. I love track, and so I coached the school's track team, and that was probably, I think I was probably more into it than the children, because I was out there running with them and everything. And
well, you know,
I wanted her to enjoy sports, like
yeah, those kind of things are really fun for our kids. And I will say that my kids were involved in so much stuff, in which I would take them to story time downtown, with the puppet shows at the Washington Cultural Center, Sulzer Library, the zoo, all of these activities. I got them going and taking swimming lessons at Wells Park. But I will say this funny incident that happened. I was out with my girlfriends. We had gone out for like brunch or something. And this woman kept looking at me, and then she said, "Oh, I recognize you. You bring your kids to story time at Sulzer." And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You know, I didn't recognize you without your kids."
Yes. Yes.
And my friend said, "Barbara, you need to get out more."
But you know how you start making friends based on your children's friends. So, so and so's mother becomes your friend because your child is their friend. So after a while, you realize that all your friends are really the mothers of your children's friends.
Well,
yes.
this is the thing. That's exactly right. Because when Sarah started dancing at Miss Emily's, I got to be good friends with 3 other moms that were there. One, 2 of them started around the same time, and the next year the other one came. They call it the United Nations. One's originally from Greece, the other one's from Hong Kong, and then my other friend is from Ireland. And one of the girls stopped dancing after about, I think, 4th or 5th grade, but the other 3 the 3 of them kept dancing. So they ended up dancing together for 15 years because they started at 3 and 4 years old. And those 3 ladies are part of my group of best friends. So even though our girls are all out of college now and on with their own lives, we still catch up and go out. And those are my good friends. And so sometimes your mommy friends become part of your squad because these
you
are
share those memories
because
you had
share
together.
the memories, and you're always looking after all the daughters, so that's a good way to make friends. And it's not always easy because sometimes you don't necessarily like the other moms, but I was lucky in that we all really, really liked each other, and we had that hour to kill while our kids were in dance, so we would all go get coffee. So that's how that grew. And then we started saying, well, we could just go get dinner without our kids.
Yeah.
I don't need them.
Yes.
So, Mama, you got any memories about us that you can think of?
Oh, well, I remember when we first moved here in this house,
Yes.
Yes.
and their father was putting up the drapery to the
Oh yeah, Daddy was putting up the
Linda.
drapes.
and at that time Naima was 20 months old,
Oh.
and well, we had bought a quilt to put on the floor because he was going to put up the drapery rods, and out of a sudden, Naima says, "Barbara hit me." She had not been talking at all before then.
And that's her
And
first
those were
word.
her first words.
Barbara hit me. First words.
That is really funny.
Oh, that's embarrassing. I think you owe her an apology.
I wasn't even in the room.
Yes, you all on the quilt,
On the quilt,
that
on the
was down
quilt.
on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm sorry.
See, you thought nobody would know because I couldn't talk.
It hadn't happened, but those were the words.
Yeah. She hit her before.
See,
Way
I probably was talking about a couple of days before. I just finally was able to get the words out.
Yo, that's so funny. Because that's funny because I remember us moving in here too. And I remember for me, it was like, I think the first meal we had here was boiled eggs. I think you used it like that.
Oh.
And we would sit on the floor and have a boiled egg. And a hard boiled egg. And I just remember that's always in my memory while the newspapers were up on the window, while you put the curtain rods up, because there's beautiful hardwood floors underneath here.
Yeah.
And
there were like 6 to 10 houses on the block. They were just building our neighborhood.
Just building, yes. So this was a good place to grow up. This was a good house.
Fabulous neighborhood with neighbors that looked out for each other, knew each other's kids. This was really a great place. And when we moved away, we all looked for neighborhoods like where we grew up.
Yeah. Whether you found them or not, you still looked. But no, motherhood has
shaped us.
It has shaped us, and it changes you in ways you don't even expect. When you think when you're going to have a child, and I was the last one to have a child, and I was older, but I was prepared to love this child. I was not prepared for the ferocity in which I would love this child, and that when I saw her, I knew that there was nothing in this world that I wouldn't do for her.
Oh.
And that really doesn't go away.
Mhm.
That really doesn't go away.
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
that
It doesn't.
doesn't. And the amazing thing, I was not even supposed to be able to have children. A doctor had given me a 10% chance of saving my uterus because my fibroids were so large. And we went in, all of our friends prayed for us. A young man at the vineyard in California laid his hands on me and prayed for me because I was just distraught. I said, I don't think God cares if I can have any children. And he says, no, let me pray for you so that you know that he really does care. And I just felt God's tenderness just completely overflow me. And then when we went into surgery and I came out and my husband Eric's like, Barbara, they saved your uterus. They saved your uterus. I was just so unprepared for the good news that I just sobbed and sobbed. And out of that came Lavinia, John, and Lorelei.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Jesus was on the side of the 10%.
Yes. Yes.
You know what was fun? It was fun being pregnant with my oldest sister. That was fun.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it was fun nursing our babies together. That was fun. It's
Because
crazy.
I had two.
She had two.
And they're not clothes made for twin moms. And I had a Lucille Ball story in which I had sat in the booth at a restaurant and could not get out. I was stuck between the table and my belly. And people always say, oh, due any day now? And I had 3 more months to go.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
I was big too, though. I was big too. And I, and people would say, how many you got in there? Which is really quite rude. And
how many you got in there?
And but it's so funny how people feel like pregnant women are public property. You'd have strange people
Rub
who
your
want to come
stomach.
up and touch your stomach. And really it's amazing that you have to they forget the boundaries. But I also, and like I said, I was older. I was 42 when I had my one and only daughter. And I loved being pregnant. I enjoyed, I said, you know what? I waited a long time for this and I loved it. I enjoyed, I danced right up into a week before I got before I went in for my C-section. And I loved every minute of it. Even I didn't get a lot of morning sickness or things, and I didn't have a lot of bad days, but I loved it. And that's the thing is that if it's a wanted child and it's something that you've waited for, it is worth it. Not everybody has a good pregnancy story. In fact, there are way too many bad ones, but I was blessed. I was blessed.
yeah.
And we were really excited. And my husband was so nice. He would carry things like my laundry and stuff for me, like I was an invalid. And, oh, you can't carry this, So it was good. It was a good time. And I can honestly say I've enjoyed being a mom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
being a
fun.
mom has got to be the best. You live through every aspect of their lives from birth to adulthood. And it just changes a little bit. You become friends after you go through those teenage years where they hate you and then they come back and they love you again. They become your friend.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the fun part, when watching them grow into adulthood. But I had a really good time with every phase of Zakia's life, and she was a companion to me a lot of places. Now, a lot of people were saying they don't even remember me being pregnant. I don't know if it was because I guess I didn't really show that much. Some people said I looked like a pencil that swallowed a watermelon or something, because I just had this one lump, and then it was gone. And then next thing, I'm carrying around, because I carried around in a pouch all the time. She was with me everywhere. I go to meetings, go to events, and a lot of people didn't even know I had a child. And then I opened my coat and there's a little head that pops up. I'm like, who's that? And that's my child. When did you have a child?
Recently.
So it was funny because today I would still have people ask, how's that little baby doing? Because they remember when I had the little child.
It's funny
I
when
say,
you do.
I'm wearing her shoes.
Yes.
That's all she's doing.
Yes, it is funny. I've had people say, how's that baby? I said, that baby's grown.
Yes. But it's always fun when you watch them grow at every phase. And yeah, before the
Even
kid
when
was
it's
talking.
not fun, it's fun.
And yeah, because when they're little, you can't wait until they can actually say some words to express their thoughts. So I was like, when Zakiya was first learning to speak, I'd be like, you remember that commercial, E.F. Hutton? When E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody listen. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, wait, Zakiya's she's talking, wait. And the whole house gets silent. We just standing there watching her to say a word. Now, of course.
I have to say, the funniest thing is when your child starts talking and you're on the phone with a relative or a sister or somebody,
and you keep saying,
and you're like, oh, they're talking. Okay, say something. And they get on the phone and they're quiet.
Yes. And some of us have had to endure, say cheese, now say meat. And I'm going, she's not going to say anything, Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara was the camera lady. I think she captured every single
moment.
But it was funny, when Zakiya, you know how you buy your child a toy telephone. So, when Mama would call, let you talk to Grandma, which we all said we wouldn't do that. We did it anyway.
Yes.
So we put on the phone and she said, "Hi, Grandma. Fine. Yeah. Okay. Bye." And she hangs up. Now, when I got her the toy telephone, exact same conversation. "Hi, Grandma. Fine. Yeah. Okay. Bye." And I'm like, but it was funny.
Talking to?
Be the exact same conversation she had on the real phone, so you could never tell the difference.
Which one? Yes.
Yeah, but she actually enjoyed talking on the phone to Grandma. So anyway, we've got to go. We hope that you enjoy your Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And treasure your moments with your children, whatever phase they're in. Treasure your mother.
Yes.
Whatever phase that she's in. Because there's nothing like Mom. So, we want to remind you, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, 3 Black Moms, and like and share our Facebook page, 3 Black Moms. I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
I'm Barbara. And this is our mom. We're 4 Black moms.
Bye.
Real good.
Who did that?
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're 3 Black Moms.